1 week wonders are back. Week 4 right now happening Monday night. We're going to talk about what happened yesterday for week 4 for the 1 week wonders. How are the 1 week wonders doing from the prior weeks? Yeah, it's as bad as you think. We'll tell you about it next. All right, week 4, 1 week wonders. I'm Bob Long, Big Guy Fantasy Sports. That, of course, is Ron Ragnan wearing his Colts proudly again this week. Is it proudly? Yeah, okay. He's still proud.
We were bound to turn the ball over at some point. You knew it was going to happen.
Right. Yeah. But we're back this week. Talk about the week 4, 1 week wonders. Before we get into that, let's talk about what has happened over the last 3 weeks with our other 1 week wonders. And speaking of Colts, our Daniel Jones has now went back to back with non-clutch games, 10.40 points. So since his clutch game, he is 1 for 3, 33%, which is actually one of 4 out of the 12 in the first 3 weeks that have actually earned a clutch game after they earn their big week. So that tells you anything. So 4 out of 12 actually have at least a clutch game. They have the rest of them are 0 for whatever, 0 for 3, 0 for 2, 0 for 1. And of those, let me just clock down the rest of them. Juwan Johnson, Quentin Johnston, who is 100%, and Cam Scatterboo is 100% because he's 1 for 1. But yeah, it's been ugly. The rest of them are all 0 so far. Those 12 through the first 3 weeks, 29% consistent. That's why we're here. That's why we're here to tell you. And let's talk about week 4, Ron. Talk about the new guy in New York. He is spreading the news. Had a good week. And came up 7th in total points this week. His name is rookie Jackson Dart. What are your thoughts on Jackson Dart? He brought a lot of excitement. He brought an upset of the Chargers, but they lost Malik Nabers for the year. That is a kick in the balls if there is ever any. I feel bad for the kid. He seemed like a good kid. He was out there. He was excited. He got Cam Scatterboo involved again. But can he continue consistency with no Malik Nabers? I mean, he can run, so maybe.
This one kind of took us by surprise. We were talking about this one on the consistently cashing in on the prop bets this weekend, and nobody, at least we didn't think that the Giants were going to even come close to sniffing out a victory, and here we are. So it just kind of goes to show you how exciting that can be when you have that young guy and you throw him in there. But let's not get too excited just yet. He did run the ball effectively, 10 for 54 and a touchdown. That's what got him over that clutch game mark, because if you look at the passing numbers were solid for a rookie start, and I think that this was kind of by design. 13 for 20, threw the touchdown, 111 yards. The key thing, no interceptions, and I think that is huge. That is going to, and you can harp about that all you want, but just like in the Colts game, they were 3-0 because they hadn't turned the ball over yet. They start turning the ball over, they lose. It's pretty simple the way it goes. But if they can manage him, they can get Cam Scatterboo behind him. That Neighbors loss is going to be awfully tough. It's funny. My 11-year-old son pointed out, Dad, I saw where Malik Nabers got hurt this weekend. I said, oh, really? Can you name one other Giants receiver? And he said, Darius Slayton. Not sure where he got that from, but I was impressed. So there's that. But you got Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and not much at tight end. Like it's not great for him. So it's going to be a lot of check down stuff, probably a lot of Cam Scatterboo. So if you have Cam Scatterboo, he's going to be definitely the guy in the passing game for sure.
For sure. Yeah, you got to love the kid. You got to love the enthusiasm. He brought a lot to it. Damn impressive, no interceptions, because Chargers are pretty good defense.
Chargers defense is stout, absolutely.
You got Derwin James. You got a lot of good players who bring it. And my thought was they were really going to bring it at him, and didn't seem to phase him. Got the victory and earned the clutch game to be this week's 1 week wonder. Quarterback, will it continue? Like you said, the feet always help, but is it going to be enough? I'm not 100% sure. This week, they get to play. I just looked at this too, and I went brain dead. New
New
Orleans,
Orleans.
which is great, right?
Yeah,
Get New
that's a
Orleans
great.
and
Yeah.
play another clutch game. But then the week after that, they go Philly, Denver, Philly.
Yeesh.
Not good. so, so don't get overly excited if he goes up. If you pick him up and you start him against New Orleans, which you should, and because you have no other options at quarterback, the first thing you do is after that New Orleans game, when he gives another clutch game, trade him. There's it. Find another guy that's lost a quarterback and
Yeah.
for him, because that could be an ugly 3 weeks after that. All right, so funny. So for those who don't know, and probably don't care, I went to Seattle this weekend to the Ohio State Washington game, and I found this really funny. I have to tell this story. So all of these guys also play fantasy football. We were talking about who to start, who to sit, blah blah blah. And I said, "Oh, it sucks that the 9:30 game in Ohio starts at 6:30 in Seattle." So I said, "Hopefully they won't pull some Alvin Kamara crap like they did a few years ago and have a scratch." And boom, a star player's out, which throws everything off. They're all like, yeah, it would suck. Guess what happened? Well, you probably already know if you own Jalen Warren at all. But I woke up at 8:30 out there, which of course is way too late. And I look at my phone and it says Jalen Warren was a scratch. Kenneth Gainwell is starting the game. What? So Kenneth Gainwell goes off for 31.4 fantasy points, ends up number 3 for the week. And the kick in the nuts for me was I have Kenneth Gainwell in one of my Kings Classic leagues, and I had him on the bench because, I had other players, right? But
Mhm.
I had played him actually a week or so ago when Charbonneau was out. Needless to say, I lost by 20, and that 34 points would have won me the week. So there we go. Yay. So those games suck. Anyway, here we are. Kenneth Gainwell, Pittsburgh Steelers. I I I apologize. I'm not 100% caught up of how bad Jalen Warren is, how long he's going to be out. But this kid's got talent. Gainwell's always been a really solid backup. Always does this. So, we've seen this before. Ron, is he got the ability to maintain this in Jalen Warren's absence and when Jalen Warren comes back? Because they're kind of starting to use Gainwell like the Falcons used Tyler Algier. Like they're giving him enough carries to make it worth your while. If he has been getting touchdowns quite a bit. What are your thoughts on Kenneth Gainwell moving forward? Can he maintain this consistency?
Well, I think one of the places that if he's not the lead guy that you're going to see him become very helpful for you is in your flex spot. And we always talk about the flex spots in Kings Classic, especially those deeper ones. But when you look at the touches, you're exactly right. He's got 7 and 5 the first couple of weeks. He got 4 2 weeks ago, but he got a touchdown. But through the passing game, he's got a couple of games where he's got 3 catches. He had 6 catches last week because he was the guy. So he's getting right around 10 touches, 11 touches a game. He's getting into the end zone a little bit. So I still think that there's a little bit left there for him to be a helpful flex player. The only thing that concerns me a little bit too is Caleb Johnson is a guy that they were pretty excited about that they drafted. That's kind of around there
Mhm.
too. I look for them as the season that goes on to give Caleb Johnson a little bit more run too. But I don't see anything because I do have Jalen Warren. I actually was able to sub him out in my one money dynasty that I'm actually doing well in, but it didn't matter this week because I lost anyway. So I subbed in Cam Scatabo, didn't help me. But again, there could be a couple more mouths to feed there. But as long as Kenneth Gainwell is the guy, I mean, he showed flashes of it in Philly too. before Saquon Barkley came along. He was there's a lot of people that liked him to kind of overtake that job. It never really happened, and he's kind of bounced around a little bit. It seems like he's found a home in Pittsburgh, but again, I think there's enough there for him to be a useful flex play, at least especially in deeper leagues.
Absolutely. And first off, if you have Jalen Warren and Gainwell is available on the waiver wire, you better be spending a lot of money to pick him up. But even if he's not, you can certainly, if you need a running back, we'll see how many weeks he may be the starter. But I would definitely go pick him up regardless because we don't know Warren's status and will he bounce back. So I agree. I think Gainwell's definitely a worthy pickup, unless you're just in a very shallow, no flex kind of league. Then you probably have 2 or 3 running backs that are much more reliable than that. So we head to the wide receiver position. Ron, nothing says 1 week wonders like one catch for 88 yards and a touchdown, and that, my friend, is the line for Mr. Tutu Atwell for the Rams. I really tried to find somebody better to put in there, but Adonai Mitchell was the closest, but he was 24th. Yeah, so Tutu Atwell's there. I mean, I feel like this is almost a guarantee that he'll not get another clutch. He might have another one of those big catches, but the Rams were just throwing the ball like wildfire. Huge day for Matthew Stafford, huge day for Puka Nacua, just all kinds of points being scored in that passing offense. Tutu Atwell's been there forever. We've seen these kind of games. He's always one of those guys you probably should draft in like the 25th round in a best ball thing because you're gonna have one of these that he can help you. Your thoughts on Tutu Atwell? Are you going to spend any money on Fab at all? I'm not feeling it, but change my mind.
I don't know if I can.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's the thing too. He's a good best ball guy, and he's a great guy to have if you have Puka Nacua or you have Devontae Adams and they miss time. We've seen Tutu Atwell step in, and he's not taking over, taking the world by storm, but he's a guy that's a capable injury fill-in, a guy that they've counted on in the past in case of injuries, but a guy that we have not seen a whole heck of a lot of in 2025. That puts his total for the year to 2 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. So I don't think that he got a clutch game the other timeout that he got that catch. So again, the targets aren't there for him right now. And with a guy like Puka Nacua just eating targets like Pac-Man, there's not enough left there for Tutu Atwell. So I mean, unless you got a deep bench and you own one of those 2 guys and you want to keep him as a handcuff, not a bad deal if you can stash him. But I don't think you're going to really have to spend any fab money, if at all, if you want to get him. So save that fab money and take your chances if you really want to get him.
Yeah. Something I forgot to bring up. Pittsburgh is on the bye next week. So
we got bye week starting in week 5. That's right.
Yeah. So it is Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Chicago, and Green Bay. So throwing that out there for y'all now, but Kenneth Gainwell may not be necessary to pick up because that gives now 2 weeks for Jalen Warren to get back. I'd still pick him up if you have Warren, just for that safety. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. I forgot to bring that up. I wrote it down and I kind of forgot to say it. But yeah, Atwell, good point. If you've got a deep bench, definitely get him to protect Nacua or Devontae Adams. Just 2 weeks ago, week 2, we had tight end from Carolina, Jatavian Sanders, get a clutch game at 12.4, 6th in total points that week. He has now went 0 for 2, 3.10, then didn't play this week at all. And therefore, this week's 1 week wonder is his backup. Not Tommy Bass, but Tommy Tremble is there to pick up the pace. 5th in total points, 15.20, 5 catches, 42 yards, 1 touchdown. As always, Carolina playing from behind, at least most games, unless they're playing the Falcons. There were some other good ones. A.J. Barner was in there for Seattle, 3 catches, 32 yards for a touchdown. Hunter Long, 3 catches, 23 yards, touchdown. Mitch Evans from Carolina. They're starting to be the Indianapolis Colts of the NFC. They just stockpiling tight ends, and they're all scoring clutch games. It's amazing. Sadly, the other guys like Hunter Renfrow are doing nothing. Hence why we have him from a couple weeks ago. Tommy Tremble. I mean, hey, Sanders is out. Bryce Young certainly loves his tight ends, as you can see with 2 tight ends who nobody's ever heard of. Well, we've heard of Tremble. Seems to like throwing to tight ends. Might be worth picking up again if you're, you've got a, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, Tucker Kraft, Atlanta, Kyle Pitts. You need a fill-in. Tommy Tremble may not be a bad call. They are playing at or home against Miami, so they're going to have to throw the ball to stay in that game. May not be a bad pickup for a bye week. You agree?
It's not, and guess who happens to have allowed the most fantasy points to the tight end position? That would be the Dolphins. So not a bad gig there if you can get it. Again, Bryce Young with a whopping, I think, 150 yards, something like that. I know it was under 200, not showing the flashes that we thought he was going to show. So it could be checkdowns all day long. It could be a nice game for Tommy Tremble. Of course, I know Tommy Tremble being an Indiana guy. He's a Golden Domer. He's a former Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So I've seen him play a little bit, but useful every once in a while. Not a guy that I would start week to week, but when you look over the course of his career, nice little backup tight end numbers there. So it's something where we could get a little bit from that. But I think as long as the matchup's there, and again, when you look at waivers, if your waivers are anything like ours are in the Kings Classic, you're scraping for anything. And a league like that, Tommy Trumbull is not a bad pickup.
Yep. Clutch game and a heartbeat. That's all we need. That's all we need. All right, Ron, as always, we come to the end of the show, and you normally have a card to share with us.
I do.
Am I right?
And what I did tonight is I just reached into one of my old boxes, blindly grabbed something out, and it was a good one. So I don't know if you can, Thurman Thomas, 1992 Offensive Player of the Year. It's still in the original holder right after I got it, so it's got a nice yellow tint to it. So I left it in there just so you can get an idea that I've had this one a while. But again, man, if you're one of those youngsters that listen to us and you have no idea who Thurman Thomas is, go do some homework. That dude was legit. Listen to Chris Berman call some Thurman Thomas highlights if you want to really get the full effect. And then if you got the old Nintendo, pull out the old Nintendo, get Super Tecmo Bowl out, and get those Buffalo Bills going. That was always my go-to team there.
All right, we're going to find you on Twitter and Big Guy Fantasy Sports, my friend.
Big week coming up. Got the bye weeks coming up, so it's going to be a little tougher on the consistently cashing this week. Shout out to Colby last week for a couple of those guys we wanted that he built the lineup around, including Puka Nacua, who put a hurt on my my Colts. But we'll be back there this week doing the consistently cashing again. You'll be back in the fold for the prop bets. I'll have the start sit. James Knight's over there cooking, putting out all kind of great stuff at BigGuyFantasySports.com, and get over there and use that consistency forecaster. It's the best tool in the game, hands down. Get over there and get it.
Love it. Yeah, all the tools, folks. That who's hot, who's not, the consistency trend. That's the stuff that, again, Colby's using for his articles. I'm using a lot for my stuff when I do the Thursday night show with James. It is such a great thing because you usually don't see those guys that score the 10 to 12 points. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. This guy's 100% consistent? What? That's what it's there for. And that was there to guide you, to show you that, hey, just because a guy's 6th in total points but is 33% consistent versus a guy who's 14th in total points but 100% consistent, that's the difference between winning and losing, my friends. Don't take that for granted. Get the information, sign up, subscribe to the site. You'll be happy you did. It's only $20 for the years, folks. It's literally what, two Starbucks, maybe 3. I don't drive Starbucks. Anyway, all right. Follow me, Bob_Lung at Twitter. So, Ron Ragnan, I'm Bob Lung. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.